In May 1999, my friend Irene Gower asked me if she could paint my portrait and submit it to the Portia Geach Art Prize. And no one had ever offered this before, so I said, oh, all right. And so we're going for a little trip back in time to July 1999, where Irene paints my portrait.
Well, Jan, I'll explain a little bit here of what's happened. From yesterday, when we just started off with the chalk drawing, this was entirely a creation out of my imagination because you hadn't yet arrived on the scene. So you arrive and I get you up there and I say, okay, whack the camera on your shoulder, and the first thing I discover is I've drawn the camera on this shoulder. But you always have it on this one, and in fact it has to be on that one because if you can see, if you move the camera to that shoulder, the eyepiece would be out here. It's a right-hand person's camera, so it has to be on that shoulder. I had actually drawn you with a twist in your body that it was impossible to sustain. And in fact, if you'd held a video camera on your shoulder at that angle, you probably would have been in hospital the next day. So you can see here that we're working on changing the angle of your body, and we're changing your pose. This hand, which started off, well, nowhere, and then it went stretched out, and now it's coming in a bit to actually fit on the canvas. So that's an artistic consideration there where we pull it in. The swan is probably starting to change shape a bit, but we'll fix that up when we've got your pose. And that was so interesting when we got you to sit and balance the camera and pretend you were sitting on a swan. What happened was both feet went out as extra balancing points. I had them originally locked under the swan's neck. I was thinking that you'd be hanging on with your legs, but in fact when you did it, you used this hand and both feet as extra balance points. So you're going to be so flying. I'm pleased that we've really worked out that pose. The other thing we've done is put the curvature of the earth in. Seeing you're a high flyer, you definitely see a bit of curvature there. So now we've done a bit of work on the face, getting down, sort of a start on that. Quite happy with this angle here. I think it was important to me that you actually looked as though you were bearing the weight of that camera, because it is a very heavy camera. And I love the idea that's developed of you're almost videoing the viewer who's looking at you, so you get this constant play. So we have our swans in perpetual motion. So, okay, well I look forward to the next sitting, Jan, and we'll see what develops.
It's the fourth sitting. I'm over at Irene's house, and Irene's going to tell us where she's up to on the portrait.
So we've moved that arm up, so we're not working too close to the edge of the picture. And so this arm is balancing her, and she's also showing off the little swan logo. What was going to be reflected in the camera here has turned out to be the artist. So we're getting lots of cross dialogue going with the videoing of this process, plus Jan's looking at me being the painter, and then the painter's reflected back in the video camera. This sort of takes on shades of ad infinitum, which I like, a little bit of tricky.
In 1999, I was a volunteer coordinator of an organisation called SWAN. School as in School of Fish, swimming in the same direction, or School of Philosophers, Women Artists Network. And we actually had women artists from all around the world on the network. So what you saw in that last piece, that was the swan logo that adorned our newsletter and things like that. September 11 killed the swan. The insurance issues afterwards saw the demise of many, many, many wonderful organisations. Irene submitted the portrait that you've just seen, and we were rejected. But we weren't really that worried, and I went along, because I'd never heard of the Portia Geach Memorial Art Prize before this. I went along and I filmed the 1999 Portia Geach Memorial Art Prize, and from there I was hooked, because I found out about Portia Geach. Now, Portia Geach instantly became one of my heroines, and over the years I've tried to find out more about Portia Geach, but history books have completely left her out. I've only ever heard of her referred to in a book by Caroline Andrews called Australian Women Artists, and she's also mentioned in a book, The Astor by Jan Roberts. So basically the contribution that Portia Geach made to the world has basically been deleted. And if it hadn't have been for her sister Florence Kate, who in 1958 set up a memorial art prize honouring the name Portia Geach. So each year, money raised from that trust funds the annual Portia Geach Memorial Art Prize. It's a portraiture competition, and women artists only are allowed to enter. So I'm a great, great fan of the Portia Geach Memorial Art Prize. The family were a rich grazier family, and they had property near Traralgon. Now, when she was about 18, she made the front page of the Traralgon newspaper. She scandalised the town by riding on Cavalier through the main street. And as far as we could work out, on Cavalier means she wore men's trousers and she rode the horse astride rather than side saddle. And it was an absolutely scandalous thing for a young woman to do. Portia Geach was one of our early suffragettes, and attended many, many women's conferences all around the world when women were fighting to get the vote in many countries. And with this feminist background, she was always very passionate about making women's lives better. And her motto was, "For the common good of all." Mm-hmm. Now, she was considered quite a battle axe. The establishment and the corporate world hated her because she had power. She had her own radio show, and she founded an organisation called the Housewives Association. So she would go on her radio program, and all the housewives listened to her and were very respectful of her perspectives. And there's one story I read, in the 1930s, butchers wouldn't lower the price of meat. So Portia Geach, through her radio program, instructed the housewives that they were not to buy any meat until the price came down. So very quickly, the butchers lowered the price, and the Housewives Association were very happy. But she was very, very disliked by the corporate world. So Portia Geach has been a heroine to me, and I absolutely adore going to film the Portia Geach Memorial Art Prize each year. So come along now and have a look at the 2008 exhibition.
I'm Julian Bickersteth, the Deputy President of the National Trust, here to welcome you tonight on behalf of our President, Zenny Edwards, who sends her apologies, and indeed our new Executive Director, John Nish, who is out touring the regions, meeting our members at the moment. I think he's in Mudgee today. This is the 44th Portia Geach Memorial Award, and it's an absolute highlight of our calendar, and I think the buzz is that this is one of the best ever, so we're looking forward to winning it, understanding who's won it tonight. Virginia Trioli was going to open the exhibition tonight, but due to commitments, the ABC is unable to do so. But we're extremely lucky to have Fenella Kernebone to do that for us. Fenella, as many of you would know, is a joint presenter with Virginia of Sunday Arts. She's a formidable arts journalist and with a specialty in particular in film and contemporary music. But through her work at Triple J and with the ABC, she's interviewed and come to know hundreds of artists, and so it's entirely appropriate that I ask her now to open the Portia Geach Memorial Award. Thanks, Fenella.
Hi there, and thank you very much, Julian, and thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of the opening of the 2008 Portia Geach Memorial Art Award. I must say it is a real honour to be able to say a few words about an exhibition and about an award that has and continues to be so incredibly important. Not only as a showcase of some of Australia's greatest painters, but also for me it's an opportunity to see some of the most current, and I'm talking about the paint that's barely dried current, and the most contemporary portraiture emerging from artist studios all around Australia. Now, as you probably are very well aware, there are any number of awards for painting and for portraiture in Australia, but this one is really, really special. It has a history that is impossible to ignore or to forget because it's there in the title, it's who it's named after, and I've been fascinated lately reading all about Portia Geach and learning about her as well. I mean, the fact is that here is an award that is dedicated to raising the profiles of Australia's female artists. It celebrates their work and it provides an ongoing focus to their art. But it's also a reminder not only about Portia Geach's lifetime commitment to art, but for me a really important reminder about Portia Geach and in fact the many, many women like her then and now who have struggled and fought for the rights of women in Australia. From the struggle for the right to vote and to achieve equal pay, to the right to simply pursue a career as an artist. And I've got to say, I really admire Portia's life as an artist as much as I admire any artist today for following that commitment to create work, to make art, and to express themselves through the paintbrush or whatever their medium may be. And I think I'm incredibly lucky, as Julian was saying, to have made a career so far that has actually allowed me to meet so many of Australia's wonderful, intelligent and talented female artists. From the well-established to the ones that are literally just building their careers. They might still be at school or they're at university, or they're working odd jobs just to support themselves to purchase the materials that they require with very little support. And in fact, it was one of those artists, a young emerging Victorian artist, who contacted me a couple of months ago to ask if she could paint my picture to enter into this year's Portia Geach Award. So I looked her up on the internet and I visited a gallery in Melbourne just to check out a couple of her works in person, and I really loved her style of portraiture. It was original and it was actually quite bizarre, which suits my style quite well. So I happily said yes, and just for me, sitting for that actual portrait was a fantastic experience. There's something extraordinarily wonderful and profound about seeing a picture, even your own odd features, actually taking shape on a canvas. And although this artist didn't actually make the final 56 selected for exhibition, it would have been my face, I'm not sure, from the 294 entered works, what I know is that this is an artist who will continue to try to extend her skills and her form of expression, and I'm sure will continue to enter this award. And it's because this award and awards like this are so damn important in the first place. I mean, she had no idea whether she would make the final cut, but she was perfectly willing to go through the effort of finding a sitter and creating a new work no matter what. The award itself provided inspiration for a new work, not only thematically, but actually having a time limit helped as well. Because I must say, there is something to be said about deadlines as a rather useful nurturer for creativity. It's true. I know for myself on Sunday Arts, every week there's yet another story, there's yet another interview, and maybe I've only got 2 hours in order to go and do something. I've got to go be somewhere, create something. And having those limitations for me, although terrifying at times, can actually be incredibly fulfilling. You've got no more time to wonder or to think. You simply have to create. And I think it's similar for many artists that I've spoken with. The deadline that an award like this actually insists upon, and one that actually provides an outline or a specific brief, can offer a real impetus for creating a new work, or in fact a new body of work. Now it might not result in you, the artist, actually winning, or even making it to the final fantastic exhibition that we see here, but of the 56 who have been selected for exhibition this year, what I keep thinking about is that there is another 238 talented artists who created new work, new portraits that may not have existed had they not been inspired to enter the Portia Geach Memorial Award, which I think is fantastic. And I give those 238 artists, and of course all the other artists, my respect and congratulations. This is an award that encourages a large number of women to not only paint, but to submit their works, to pay the entry fee, to battle with the delivery costs and the collection of their paintings, just for the possibility of making it to the finals. And the fact that such a large number of artists this year, and in fact each year, do so, I think is a testament to the real strength of portraiture in Australia, and in fact a real strength of female artists across the country. And also an award like this encourages that breadth of creativity. However, of course, the artists that are present here this evening and whose work have made it to the final 56, please accept my congratulations. It is really fantastic, and also the sitters that are here as well this evening, congratulations to you. It is, as you can see, an incredibly strong exhibition. The works are vibrant, some of them are massive, they're colourful, they're diverse, they look great, they smell great. It's true. I have absolutely no idea who's going to win. I've got no idea who's going to win, but I can't tell you enough. I can't wait to spend a little bit more time with each and every painting. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for, I'd like to ask Bruce Corlett, the chairman of Trust Company, for the trustees for this award to announce the winner.
Thank you very much, Julia. Welcome on behalf of Trust Company to tonight's very important awards. Fenella touched a little on Portia Geach, but I've been asked quite a bit. Who was Portia Geach and what was her background? So I thought I'd give you just a little journey of her life. She was born in 1873 in Melbourne. She studied design in 1890 to 92 and painting from 1893 to 96 at the Melbourne National Gallery Schools. Late in 1896, she won a scholarship to the Schools of Royal Academy of Arts in London, where she studied for 4 years. She also worked in Paris and exhibited in England, Paris and New York. Back in Melbourne, Portia had an exhibition in 1901 in her Collins Street studio. Portraits became her specialty. She had a visit to the United States of America in 1917 and was profoundly influenced by a meeting of a housewives association she attended. As a consequence, having moved to Sydney to live, she founded and was president of the New South Wales Housewives Association. It aimed to educate women in the principles of proper nutrition and to aid them in their struggles against profiteering and rising food prices. In the Sydney Morning Herald and over the radio, she frequently expressed her views on such subjects as buying empire goods, the use of preservatives in foodstuffs, the date of stamping eggs, the marking of lamb, and the high price of milk and bread. Miss Geach was also a delegate to the International Council of Women's Conference in Washington in 1925. She believed in equal pay for men and women and the right of women to hold public office. In 1926, while overseas, she exhibited at the Salon of the Société Nationale des Beaux-Arts, Paris. During the balance of her life, she dedicated herself to the promotion of women's rights. Clearly a remarkable woman. She died in 1959 and left her estate to her sister, Florence Kate Geach. Her sister then, upon her death in her estate, set aside £12,000 and established this award in honour of her sister. And now to the winner. We've got an $18,000 cheque in here. I shall open it and tell you who it is. It's Miss Jude Ray for her work, Self-Portrait 2008, The Year My Husband Left. So Jude.
If I'd known this was in the window, perhaps would have thought twice about restretching the painting underneath the stairs in the foyer of the TED Freight Company on Friday afternoon. That seemed to work okay. Well, first I have to thank the Trust Company for their continued support of Portia Geach, a very important institution now. I don't think I can say anything more than Fenella said about the importance of encouraging women. It's not a level playing field out there. It certainly isn't in the visual arts or anywhere else, and I think that's a very important, the Portia Geach represents a very important recognition of that. And that brings me to acknowledging not just the other women that are hung in the show, but everyone that entered, which must have been near 300 this year, which is extraordinary, maybe over 300, I can't remember the sums. I'd like to also thank the judges who I was a judge, and it's comparing apples and oranges, and it's a really difficult task, and they have, obviously from my perspective, done a very good job. But it is a very difficult task, and it doesn't. The selection is always with a view to fine painting, but also to a great show. So if you didn't get hung, it's not necessarily, what it feels like. And I think that's very important always to remember, having been rejected from the Archival a number of times. I think that's all from me, except to thank the friends, families and colleagues that have been a huge support to me over the last couple of years, which haven't been entirely easy, and so thank you all for coming.
The winning painting is down here on the right-hand side. Can I just beg your indulgence for a moment longer, just to thank our wonderful staff here at the SHM Gallery.
My name is Jeanette Landstedt, and I've painted the winner of this Portia Geach Prize this year. The winner was Jude Ray.